The American dream is one bill away from breaking. Let me tell you about a guy named Devin. He made $82,000 last year. He had a stable job, a nice apartment, 2 car payments, and a Netflix account he hadn't opened in 4 months. On paper, Devin looked fine. He looked like someone who had figured it out. Then his transmission blew. $3,400. And just like that, Devin was on the phone with his mom asking if he could borrow money. $82,000 a year. And 1 car repair broke him. Devin is not the exception. Devin is the rule. And if you're sitting here right now feeling slightly uncomfortable, that's because some version of Devin lives in most American households. According to a Federal Reserve survey, nearly 4 in 10 Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. $400. That's not a crisis. That's a Tuesday. And yet it breaks people. It breaks people who make good money, who have good intentions, who genuinely believe they are one raise away from finally getting ahead. Here's the thing. Nobody wants to say out loud, the American dream was never designed to make you financially free. It was designed to make you financially functional, just functional enough to keep spending. Keep consuming. Keep believing that the next purchase, the next house, the next car, the next subscription will finally make you feel stable. And that illusion is costing people everything. So today we're going to talk about what's actually happening to the financial foundation of the average American, why the system keeps most people one bill away from collapse, and most importantly, what you can do, starting today, to stop being a participant in that system and start becoming someone who builds real lasting wealth. Not someday. Now. Before we get into the rules, I want to address something that comes up every single time I talk about this stuff online. People say, Nikita, the problem is the economy. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. Housing is unaffordable. It's not a mindset problem, it's a systemic problem. And look, they're not wrong. Those things are real. Housing costs have increased by over 40% since 2020 in many major markets. Grocery prices are up, insurance premiums are climbing, healthcare is a joke. I'm not dismissing any of that. But here's where the conversation goes wrong. People use systemic problems as a reason to do nothing about their personal situation. They treat external problems as a full excuse to not change anything internal. And that is where people stay stuck for decades. Yes, the system is imperfect. Yes, wages should be higher. Yes, healthcare costs are out of control. And also, simultaneously, there are people in the exact same economic environment who are building savings, who are investing consistently, who are getting ahead not because they're lucky, not because they inherited money, but because they made specific decisions that most people aren't making. The goal today is not to pretend the system is fair. The goal is to give you a strategy that works within the system as it exists right now, not the system as you wish it were. Now let's talk about what the data is actually telling us, because the numbers here are alarming and clarifying at the same time. The median American household income right now is around $76,000. The median net worth of Americans under 35 is around $13,000. That gap is staggering. People are earning real money and ending up with almost nothing to show for it over years of working. Where is it going? The average American household carries over $10,000 in credit card debt. The average car payment right now is over $700 a month, and most people are financing vehicles for 72 to 84 months. That's 6 to 7 years paying for a depreciating asset. The average American is spending over $300 a month on subscriptions alone, many of which they've forgotten they even have. And here's the one that really gets me. If you had invested just $300 a month into a simple S&P 500 index fund starting at age 25, and you never touched it, by age 65, you would have over $1 million, assuming historical average returns of roughly 10% annually. $300 a month. That's less than most people are spending on subscriptions, takeout, and impulse purchases they don't remember making. The math is not the problem. The behavior is the problem. And behavior comes from identity. This is where we get into the rules, and I want you to pay close attention here because this is where most financial content misses the mark completely. They give you tactics. Cut your coffee. Make a budget. Stop eating out. And those things aren't wrong, but they don't work long-term because they're treating symptoms. If you want permanent change, you have to change who you believe you are. Rule 1. Stop identifying as a consumer and start identifying as a wealth builder. This sounds abstract until you understand the psychology behind it. Every decision you make financially flows from your identity. If you identify as someone who works hard and deserves to treat themselves, every purchase feels justified. If you identify as a wealth builder, every purchase gets filtered through a different question. Does this move me forward? Or does this drain me? It's not about being cheap. Wealth builders still enjoy life, but they make intentional decisions rather than emotional ones. When you start telling yourself, genuinely, I am someone who builds wealth, your brain starts filtering your choices differently. That's not motivation talk. That's how identity-based behavior change actually works, and it's been documented extensively in behavioral psychology research. The shift is internal first, and the external results follow. Rule 2. Calculate the true cost of everything you buy, not just the sticker price. This is one of the most underused mental frameworks in personal finance, and it will change how you see money permanently. Every purchase has 3 costs: the price, the maintenance cost, and what I call the mental energy cost. Let me give you an example. You buy a boat. $20,000. That feels like the cost. But then there's storage, insurance, fuel, maintenance, the time you spend coordinating trips, the social obligation to invite people, the guilt when you don't use it enough. Suddenly, that $20,000 boat is costing you $45,000 over 5 years and draining mental bandwidth you didn't account for. This applies to houses, cars, gym memberships, side businesses, rental properties, everything. Before you buy anything significant, ask yourself, what is the full cost of owning this thing? Not just the purchase price, but the ongoing drain on your money, your time, and your mental space. Most purchases look very different when you calculate the true cost. Rule 3. Automate your investing before your brain has a chance to spend the money. This sounds like a simple logistical tip, but the psychology behind it is profound. Human beings are terrible at delayed gratification in the moment. We have every intention of saving at the end of the month, and then the end of the month comes and somehow the money is already gone. The solution is to remove the decision entirely. Set up an automatic transfer to your investment account on the same day you get paid, not after bills, not after you see what's left. On payday, the money moves automatically. What you don't see, you don't spend. This isn't discipline. Discipline is unreliable. This is architecture. You're designing your financial system so the right thing happens automatically, without requiring you to be strong or motivated in the moment. The wealthiest people I know are not more disciplined than you. They've just built systems that make the right behavior the default behavior. Rule 4. Treat market downturns as sales, not disasters. This is where most people destroy their wealth without realizing it. The market drops 20% and people panic. They sell. They lock in their losses. They wait on the sidelines until the market stabilizes. And then they buy back in after the recovery, having missed the biggest gains. This is the single most destructive behavior in retail investing, and it's entirely driven by emotion. Here's what the data shows. The 10 best single days in the stock market over the last 20 years often happened within 2 weeks of the 10 worst days. If you were out of the market trying to protect yourself during the bad days, you almost certainly missed the best days too. Time in the market has consistently outperformed timing the market over every meaningful long-term period we have data for. When the market drops, that is not a warning sign. That is a discount. The companies don't disappear. The value doesn't evaporate. The price gets temporarily lower, and if you're a long-term investor, you should be celebrating, not panicking. Rule 5. Build your financial floor before you try to build your financial ceiling. Everyone wants to talk about investing, side hustles, passive income, building wealth, and those conversations matter. But if you don't have a financial floor, none of that works. Your financial floor is a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a high-yield savings account, not a brokerage account, not tied up in investments. Liquid, available, boring. This is what separates people who can weather a financial shock from people who get wiped out by one. Devin didn't have a floor, so when the transmission blew, he fell straight through. With a floor, that $3,400 repair is annoying. It's not catastrophic. It doesn't require a phone call to his mom. It doesn't send him into credit card debt that will take 18 months to climb out of. Build the floor first, aggressively, then build the ceiling. Now, I want to talk about the long game, because this is where most people give up, right before everything starts working. We live in a culture obsessed with speed. 60-day transformations. Get rich in 90 days. Flip that property. Find the hot stock. And that culture is making people poor, because real wealth is almost never built fast. It's built through boring, consistent, unsexy behavior repeated over years and decades. Here's the truth about compound interest that the charts don't fully communicate. The growth is backloaded. If you invest for 30 years, roughly half of your total wealth accumulates in the last 5 years of that period. The early years feel like nothing is happening. You're putting money in, the market goes up and down, your balance doesn't look that impressive, and it's easy to think it isn't working. But it is working. Silently, mathematically, and then somewhere around year 15 or 20, you look at your balance and something has shifted. The number is moving differently. The gains in a single year start exceeding what you contributed in years of saving. That's compound interest doing what it always does when you give it time and don't interrupt it. The people who get there are not smarter than you. They're not luckier than you. They just decided at some point that they were going to be someone who stayed in the game. They automated their contributions. They stopped checking their portfolio every day. They stopped trying to predict what the market was going to do next month. They just kept going. Through recessions, through panics, through the noise and the fear and the headlines, they kept going. That consistency, that willingness to stay boring when everything around you is screaming to do something dramatic, that is the actual edge. Not a hot tip, not the right stock, not timing the market perfectly, just staying in month after month, year after year, and letting the math do what math does. The American dream is absolutely one bill away from breaking for most people right now. That is not pessimism. That is the data. But it does not have to be your story. You can decide today to start building differently. Not because the system is fair, not because everything is going to be easy, but because you are someone who builds wealth, and wealth builders make different decisions than consumers do. Starting now. Starting with the habits, starting with the identity. Here is your 60-second task before you close this video. Right now, pull out your phone. Go to your bank or brokerage app. If you don't have a brokerage account, open one. I recommend starting with Fidelity or Schwab. Both are free. Both take about 10 minutes to set up. Once you're in, set up an automatic recurring investment. It doesn't matter if it's $50 a month or $500. What matters is that it's automatic and it happens on payday. Set it up right now. You don't need to research it perfectly. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Put it into a simple S&P 500 index fund and let it run. That single action, done today, is worth more than every piece of financial content you've ever consumed but never acted on. The floor gets built one brick at a time. Lay the first one today.